Hey guys, Marco here. Hopefully you all had a great holiday season and that Santa brought you everything that you wished for. Or that I was as good as it could have been with everything going on right now. But the holidays are done and I'm officially back to talk about my latest short film, Anywhere But Here. It was released on December 20th and the response from everyone was pretty damn good. Some big praises for my cinematography, my editing, the acting in it, and for how disturbing it was, which is a big compliment for me. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you to anyone who did watch it. It honestly means the world. But I guess all that short film talk segues into today's video, which is talking about how I shot the movie itself. A few weeks ago, we talked about the pre-production, the planning on this short film, and I couldn't really talk about shooting it without spoiling stuff, so I had to release the short film first before I show you how I shot it. So that's all the catching up. If you haven't watched the pre-production one, watch that. If you haven't watched the short film, watch that, and then you can come back and watch this, or just watch this and spoil yourself away. I don't care. So to break it down, shooting this short film took 3 days. I'd planned that the first day would cover 3 scenes, the second day would cover 2 scenes, and the last day would cover 2 scenes as well. So with all that being said, let's jump into day 1 of shooting. All right, today is the first shooting day of my latest short film. To be honest with you, a little nervous, but I think the nerves are a good sign. I'm always nervous for any shoot, especially short films, especially ones that I've created, because everything's relying on me. But I think once we get out there, once we start shooting, everything will be fine. It usually clicks right away. It's the nerves before where you're like, did I prepare enough? Did I do all this right? Is it gonna work? You don't know until you step out there, or even when, you know, I'm back here at my desk editing it, you don't know until then, so you can only cross your fingers and hope for the best. As you can tell from the vlog here on the backup camera, I was pretty nervous to tackle this, but I always like to try and turn that into some positive energy, and that's where we get into our first location. So we headed to the lakefront, which is the opening scene of the movie. Now, if you notice from the short film, this opening dreamlike sequence is the only part of the movie shot in slow-mo. The reason I did that is because the story focuses on dreams, addiction, false reality, and to me, this is really the only positive dream that Andre's character goes through. So I wanted to add that dreamlike, flowy kind of feel to it. While other dreamlike sequences, the car one, which we'll get to in a bit, which are slightly positive, aren't shot in slow motion because they're not overly positive. So just a little visual storytelling with my camera, trying to do as much as I can to portray the message. But from there, we moved on to our second location, which was the long, winding road dream sequence. For the opening shot in this sequence, I knew I wanted the car driving by, like that cinematic low to the ground, to make it feel like a movie, you know, not to make it feel like a low budget, but a professional film. And as you can see through one of the first takes here, it works, but it didn't feel cinematic. So I saw a big pile of leaves like right off to the side of the road here, and I thought, like, why don't I move them into shot, kind of lay them out, and as Andre drives through, the leaves will whistle through, they'll go, it'll add more movement and look more cinematic. So I did that, recorded, and as you can see, it turned out way better. I mean, just look at these side-by-side comparisons. And it's those little things where you find on set that maybe you didn't plan for. Like, I didn't plan for leaves to be in the shot, I just wanted a car driving by. But when you get there and you assess your environment and see what it has to offer, you kind of change stuff and you work some of that into the movie. And because of that, because I was quick on my feet and I thought of this, it turned out to be one of the coolest looking shots in the movie. From there, we moved on to the car interiors, which involved Andre driving up and down this road multiple times while I jumped from the back seat to the front seat, back to the back seat, trying to get as many different angles as I could. Was that overacting?
Yeah, overacting. No. That was like, oh, there's $5 in my pocket. Yeah, whenever you're ready. The other one, look, yeah, you're like, whoa.
I said prior that I felt really nervous with this short film, and this next bit of filming was, I think, the reason I did. And that's when Johnny came and he had to stand in for the dead body for a few shots. I wanted him to do some BTS stuff as well, so there was a lot of moving parts. Some of which included me dressing up the makeup, covering Johnny in fake blood, same with Andre, which although you can put on people, isn't advised to really stay on people's body parts for so long because it can stain.
It actually looks pretty good.
Kind of like rub it in there.
Oh, okay, that was cool.
Do you feel it on your stomach?
Yeah.
So I had to act quick with that while also getting the shots that I needed, making sure they knew what they were doing, moving into the proper position, making sure no cars were driving by.
Oh yeah, go around there. She did not look impressed.
Not look impressed. Put those in your back pocket. Nope. It was a lot to handle for just myself, you know? And this is where I envy those big budget productions where you have so many people handling all these different departments. Because it can take that weight off your shoulders and kind of disperse it amongst many other people who are, you know, more specialized in those categories than you may be. But I will say, although it was stressful, this was also, I think, the most fun of the shoot. Because for everything else, it was just Andre and I, just, you know, the director, camera, and then the actor. This, we had another guy on set, we had another personality, a little bit of morale, we were all joking around, we were having fun. Cut. Good. That was really fucking good. That was fucking good.
That's pretty good. Stop it, guys. Stop it.
And yeah, it was stressful for me, but because of them and their, you know, morale boosting enthusiasm, it kind of, you know, it didn't make it dwindle upon me as much. So I thank them for that. I thank them for being the funny guys that they are. We just finished the dream sequence on the road. These guys fucking killed it.
Oh.
Mainly Johnny. John.
Got a new actor. Got a new actor. I'm done.
Alright, so I'll recast Andre as Johnny. It's fine. We're good. We're good. We're
Everything.
good. But luckily, we got all the shots we needed, and then we moved on to our final location for day one. That's the farm sequence, which again is like a dream inside of a dream, and all these realities kind of blending to each other. A big motif or like symbolism in this movie is guns and like what to do with them. When he sees the gun in his garage, and then he sees it again in the car, we cut to an actual gun being fired. Like, you know, it's adding all those layers. But this location started off again just having fun. While we were setting everything up, Johnny was having a blast playing with the dog, which again boosted everybody's morale, made sure everyone was having a good time. And then once he was officially tuckered out, we moved on to actually shooting, which I think is a big mistake that a lot of, you know, starting off filmmakers make. It's just they think they're Spielberg, they just want to keep making like, oh, let's get the shot, blah, 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 blah. Stop for a sec and just have fun. Like, you're making a movie, especially if you're doing it with your friends, have fun, get the work done, yes, but also have a good time doing it. So, tip for all y'all. But here we got the coverage that we needed, again with that golden hour lighting, which was just, so, all in all, not a bad first day. And thus brings us to day number 2, which I think happened a day or two after day number 1. But we started off this day with some quick reshoots of day number 1's shoots. I said shoots a lot of times there. So when I had dumped all the footage from day 1 shooting, I noticed that certain car interiors of like inserts of him putting the disc in and everything didn't look as sharp as I would have liked. So I just reshot some of those. We matched the lighting, and because they were like tighter shots, we didn't have to go all the way back to that location to do it. We pretty much just drove around the block a couple of times and I just grabbed the footage that I needed. That truly is the magic of filmmaking right there. But then after that, we moved on to our actual first location for day 2, which was the kitchen scene. And again, from looking at that footage from day 1 shoot, something that I realized was to take more time with certain stuff. So because that day we only had to do 2 locations, they were both in my house, it was only Andre and I was like, we're gonna take our time with these. So before we even started shooting, I was talking to Andre, making sure we're both on the same page, that our actions matched. We had to become one person in order to make sure his timing and my timing are good for certain shots. I also felt that stress from day 1 of wearing way too many hats at once here. I was doing the makeup, I was setting up props, because this time we had a cup that needed to be filled a proper distance. I didn't want to waste anything. Oh, and for those wondering, whenever you see alcohol in my short films, it's never actually alcohol. It's just flat iced tea, because it looks oddly very similar to bourbon or rye or whiskey. Put it in one of those cups, fill it up with some ice cubes, and you've got a movie alcoholic. And one thing I noticed in this location is when I took my time with certain shots and I directed Andre to act a certain way or to make him express himself a little bit more, his performance, my camera work, everything just got elevated a bit. And then that momentum moved on to our second location, which is the bathroom, where again I took that time before the camera even started rolling to connect with Andre, make sure that we were on the same page, we were both doing the same thing, and then we started shooting. And this is just one of the many crazy things that I asked Andre to do during this shoot. Now, to submerge himself in a bathtub and pop out. But you know what? He was committed to the craft, so I applaud him for that. And then we had probably one of the toughest shots in the entire movie, and that is the oneer. That's this shot here, which on its own doesn't seem like anything special. And originally, it wasn't supposed to be a oneer. There'd be 4 cuts and it would look fine, it would work. But that was easy. I wanted to take it a step further and do it all in one take, which I I felt would add to that suspense, but also kind of bump up the budget levels a little bit, you know, to make it feel like a little bit of movie magic. Because when you're working on a movie like this that was like less than 50 bucks to make, anything that you can do to bump up that value is worth it. So the way we pulled this shot off was I pretty much sat in the bathtub with Andre filming. I had a close-up on Andre's face. When he looked over to the TV, I panned over with him. When he looked back, I panned over again with him. As soon as my camera's frame got the TV out of sight, I had my sister grab the TV and pull it out of the room so that when Andre did eventually look back, I could follow through and there would be no TV there. Sounds pretty easy, right? I think we probably did this like 8, 9, 10 times maybe? It's not that the shot itself was super complicated, it was just the timing of everything. There's something that David Fincher says about filmmaking that I love, and it's that you're always looking for that magic moment where everybody becomes in sync and in their best form at the same time. So Andre's acting needs to be great. My camera work needs to be great. My timing with Andre and his timing needs to be great. My framing needs to be great. My sister's pullback needs to be great. Everybody at the same time has to peak at the same time, and it's hard to do. That's why we ended up doing 9, 10 takes. And even the final shot wasn't perfect, but it was the closest we got to it. On to day number 3. So I just spent about the last hour set dressing our final location for our short film. And yes, that means it is the final shooting day. I am both excited yet sad at the same time. But yeah, Andre's on his way. We got some more fake blood, some intense scene, arguably the most intense scene of the movie, the most important one. So no pressure. We had about a 2-week break in between day 2 of shooting and the final day, day 3 of shooting, which gave me a lot of time to review the footage and really think about how I wanted to tackle this final day. Because in my mind, the 2 scenes that I was shooting this day were the 2 most important scenes of the movie. And if these 2 failed, I genuinely thought the whole movie would fail. You know, they're the bookends. They're the first time where we see Andre in his real state, which shows us the themes of addiction and escapism. And then it's that final scene where we see him escape from these dreams and where he can move on with his life, only to find out that this is still a dream and his addiction and his escapism have consumed him. So yeah, when you put it like that, a lot was riding on this day. So I knew I was going to take my time with it. An important thing I learned that day as well was longer takes, really letting your actor get into role, is way more beneficial. Yeah, you may only use 3, 4, 5 seconds of that clip, but if you get them to really get into character for 10, 15 seconds, then you give yourself the option to use that. And in this case, when I gave Andre that extra room to really get into character, to really act, he ended up killing it for these 10-second takes. So in my final edit, I used a lot of these longer takes because it feels more raw, it feels more, you know, organic and just kind of letting everything flow. And I guess this kind of segues into one of my biggest praises on this movie, and that is praising Andre because he is not a professionally trained actor whatsoever. The only acting experience he has is through either my short films or his short films or friends of our short films that we made in high school or made just for the hell of it. And to get a performance like he gave in this movie from a guy who's really never pushed himself that far in terms of acting before, like, I gotta give him a round of applause for that. Because in a lot of ways, this is really Andre's movie. He is the main character, we follow his main story, a lot rides on him, and if he didn't act up to performance-wise, it would have fallen short. So kudos to you, buddy, you killed it. And I think at this point too, I had gotten into the swing of things. I was in form, I knew what I was doing, I was confident. And you can see through all this behind the scenes footage that, you know, I'm confident in my movements, confident in my directing. I'd really grown into the short film at this time. And you can even see here when I call, you know, a wrap on the movie, you can see the confident but yet bittersweet smile on my face, because there's me thinking like, hey, I just shot a short film for 3 days. It was stressful, it was hard, but it was fun and it was rewarding. And that face right there, I think, is me loving the experience, sad that it's going away, but also looking forward to the next time I get to do it. So that concludes the shooting. That's the movie. I guess if I had to critique myself on my shooting process, what would I have to say? I genuinely believe this is some of my best cinematography that I've done, but I think it's some of my best framing, some of my best camera work, some of the best acting I've gotten actors to do, but I have tackled a few different scenes or shots differently. Maybe, you know, probably, but I did learn a lot while shooting this as well. And I think that is one of the most rewarding things about making movies. Yeah, the final product is awesome and I love hearing people's responses on it, but it's the fact that you can learn so much in such a short period of time that will not only improve yourself, but like your craft in and of itself. Filmmaking, it's such a crazy, stressful, amazing thing. It really is. But yeah, that's how I shot the movie. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little look behind the scenes of it. Again, this is part 2 in a 3-part saga of like the making of Anywhere But Here. So the final video will take a look at the final product, see how that was put together through editing, storytelling, everything like that. I feel like I've been talking for a lot, so I'm gonna just end this. Thank you for watching. Follow me on all my socials. Links will be in the description. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And until next time, I'm Marco Pereira. Ciao for now.